Hello everybody, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be focusing on Newcastle once again. We've got some exciting news that they're making in the transfer window already. We'll be discussing how they could potentially look next season. I've also got quite a funny statistic of Jacob Murphy up against Lamine Yamal, so a lot to get through. But before I begin, if you are new here, please hit subscribe and like as well. And I'd like to say thank you very much to the Newcastle fans that have joined me on this channel. The support is unreal. I see you guys. Your fan base is absolutely amazing. And just thank you so much. But we'll start here with Mr. Sven Botman, because over the past few days, I'm sure you Newcastle fans are feeling it. It seems as though everybody is linked with every one of your players. But I will take it as a compliment as well, because it just shows how good you are, how, much quality you have in your squad. Here, for example, Newcastle defender Sven Botman has emerged a target for PSG this summer. I mean, Sven Botman's been injured for the majority of this season, but to see, even that performance up against Chelsea has PSG back in the hat. We knew initially when, Newcastle were trying to sign him from Lille, PSG were interested. Newcastle beat PSG to his signature. And I have no sort of doubts that Sven Botman will want to stay. And not too long after, actually, a report came out to say, although PSG are interested in the defender, Sven Botman is keen to commit his future to Newcastle United. So Newcastle are in that place now where their best players, they don't want to leave. They're seeing what Eddie Howe is building. They're seeing the future they can have and how close they are to maybe more glory. The Carabao Cup was almost like a look into the future of the potential sort of wins that Newcastle can have in terms of silverware, and keeping someone like Sven Botman at the club is always a fantastic thing. And if we look at his performance against Chelsea, it impressed me so much. A 7.3 rating, being thrusted into the squad. He played 55 minutes, 3 clearances, 2 shots blocked, an interception, 2 tackles, only dribbled past once, 50 touches, 85% pass accuracy, a key pass as well. On the ball, he's absolutely phenomenal, and winning 4 out of 5 ground duels and 2 out of 3 aerial duels. He's a duels monster. I really loved his performance. He brings so much to the Newcastle side. We can talk about Burn and Shaw, but Sven Botman at his best is probably the best defender that Newcastle have, and it's a good headache Eddie Howe will have next season, because you're thinking about it. Burn, you're thinking about Shaw, you're thinking about Botman. Who starts? And there's talk of them bringing in someone like Greish, bringing in somebody like, Kwanzaa. The quartet that Newcastle could have going into next season is really scary with the amount of games that they're going to play as well. It is a sight to behold, but let us get into a bit of the transfer news. A shock thing that came out actually earlier yesterday. Newcastle are interested in Jack Grealish, who could leave Manchester City this summer, most likely on loan. I was quite shocked to see this, but I wasn't surprised at all. Newcastle seem to recruit, the sort of English talents, the English players where they're just not right there in terms of consistent game time, in terms of, providing week in, week out. We saw it with Anthony Gordon, quality player at Everton, but he wasn't really providing to the levels what we're seeing at Newcastle. And it is interesting to see how this move would work. He's obviously talking about most likely a loan, but Jack Grealish is a really good player. He really is. And if there's one manager that I can feel can get the best out of Jack Grealish, it's Eddie Howe, without a shadow of a doubt. Looking at these stats, I don't like rating, but 7.21 rating, 7.32, 7.25, 7.11, 7.59, 7.41. These are in his last sort of, 6 seasons with Villa and City. It's very good. The numbers aren't great. 8 GA this season. Season before that, only 6 goal contributions. 16 in 50 was much better in the 22-23 season. At Villa, he got 17 goal contributions in 27 games. So there's a massive player in there. There really is. And we saw even this season when he was put into the number 10 role against Leicester for Manchester City, he got himself on the score sheet. He's just ready to explode again. I think he's like 27 now, mature, the sort of player that Newcastle could want. And Newcastle fans are maybe thinking, why do we need this? We've got Joe Linton. But I feel like you guys will need to understand is different games, different game states require different sort of players. I feel like Newcastle have an overall issue of breaking down aggressive low blocks. Those teams that just sit in a massive shape, restrict the space in the middle for Bruno, restrict the space for Isak on the wing for Gordon as well. They need a player in the middle who can take the initiative in the attacking third. And someone like Grealish can do that. I think of a midfield three, Bruno, Grealish, Tonali against those low blocks. Murphy on the right, Mbeumo could be coming in off the right. Isak, Hall, Botman, it could be Burn. It doesn't matter. I'm just thinking about that midfield three. Someone like Grealish can receive the ball and drive with it. He can pick the pockets of spaces. He's strong. He can draw fouls, free kick situations, set piece situations. All of these things Jack Grealish can do for Newcastle. And it's important, we underestimate the importance of a ball carrier, and someone like Grealish is an aggressive ball carrier. And to be honest, I can see this move happening, and I can see it absolutely sort of propelling Newcastle to even higher heights, because there's a quality player in there, and that's without a shadow of a doubt. And it seems like Newcastle are looking for this number 10 profile, because according to ESPN, who are quite reliable, Newcastle are readying a move for Crystal Palace Eberechi Eze for around 67 million, see him as an ideal fit for the house system. And CPFC are maybe going to look to accept offers this summer. So, again, the right profiles. If there was ever one position I feel like Newcastle would need, it's that number 10 against those defensive sides who's attacking based. Cherky comes to mind. Eze, Grealish, who can pick up that ball when the going's tough against those low blocks, other than a Bruno, other than Tonali, who can create from the centre of the pitch. I feel like these profiles make sense. And even Matheus Cunha is a player that is looking at. I've talked about Bryan Mbeumo there. But these are the players Newcastle need. Players who can receive on the turn, create, get shots off in and around the box, be aggressive in the attacking third. And like I've said, Grealish, Eze, Cunha. All of these profiles, they make a lot of sense. And you're thinking about Liam Delap, you're thinking of Mbeumo. Newcastle was so close to challenging for a title. I really do think so. For me, as an outsider, you guys obviously know more than me. You're Newcastle fans, and you probably will correct me in this video and say I'm maybe talking nonsense and I don't know. And if that's the case, fair enough. But I feel as though as an outsider, Newcastle do lack a number 10. A right winger like Mbeumo to increase the quality and depth and options instead of Murphy would be unreal. Someone like Delap coming in instead of Isak. I know Willa Sula is there, but it can really propel them. And a goalie, I know Nick Pope's been unreal recently, but someone that can play with their feet, someone like a Trafford. Newcastle was so close. They really, really are. And talking of Bryan Mbeumo, he did actually speak on a YouTube channel. He said, in terms of what his favourite stadium to play at is, he said, I really like Everton, and Newcastle, probably one of those. And that just goes to show Bryan Mbeumo has Newcastle on his mind. I know it's something really silly and small, but small things like this can almost indicate to you that a player wants to come. And I can really see Bryan Mbeumo going to Newcastle and being a hit. And Mbeumo, Gordon, Isak front three, as good as Murphy is, probably top 2 in the league. I really, really do think so. I think in terms of front threes go, I could even see it as the best in the league. I really, really could. Thinking of Liverpool, Diaz, Gakpo is unsure who's there. Striker, they haven't really got one. Salah is in there. City, Doku, Savinho, Marmoush, Haaland. There's not really a settled front three. Arsenal, you've got Saka, again, centre forward and left wing. It's not really a lot of abundance of quality. So I feel like he could really make Newcastle the best in terms of the front three with Gordon and Isak. What is your thoughts, Newcastle fans, on the leaked kit? I saw it come out. I think it's an absolute beauty. Seen a lot of talk from Newcastle fans not happy with it, but I really, really like it. But let me know down below. I think it's going to be quality, and one which is worthy of a Premier League title. You never know. Hopefully not. As an Arsenal fan, hopefully it's finally going to be our time. But that's a really, really beautiful kit. And of course, the whole badge situation has Newcastle Twitter up in arms. This is apparently the sort of the raw image, the leaked image of what the badge would look like. I can kind of zoom in. I think it's all right, but I don't know about Newcastle fans. The talk of leaving the stadium, St. James's Park, moving to somewhere new badge. Is it too much? For someone looking from the outside, it looks a lot. Newcastle just need to slow down on that side and focus a bit on the footballing side. But, what do I know? I'm just a football fan with a football channel, and I'm sure you guys as fans will know a lot more and have your own better opinions on the matter. But the funny thing I wanted to just end this video on is Jacob Murphy up against Lamine Yamal. More goals scored, same assists. So Jacob Murphy on 20 GA has more than Lamine Yamal on 19 GA. Just go to show how good this guy really, really is. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you have enjoyed, and until next time, peace.